Today, I'm going to explain a crime thriller film called Good Time. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Fueled by the pipe dream of leaving New York City for peaceful Virginia, the unstable Connie Nikas robs a bank with his developmentally challenged brother, Nick. Throughout his therapy session, Nick Nikas is visibly uncomfortable. His therapist Dr. Peter asks him to interpret some idioms which he all takes literally. When Nick becomes unresponsive, they move on to word comparisons. Peter gives Nick a pair of words so Nick can tell him what comes to mind when he hears them. With scissors and a cooking pan, Nick says that you can hurt yourself with them. A tear rolls down Nick's face after he responds, and Peter gently presses on. He asks what Nick meant, if he ever thinks about hurting himself. Nick grows even more uncomfortable, and after a moment of silence, he talks about the time his grandmother pushed him and yelled at him, telling me that he can't eat food. He adds with growing yet subdued distress that he picked the pan up and threw it at his grandmother, then corrected himself by saying he threw it at the wall. Peter asks if he meant to hit his grandmother, but Nick has become unresponsive. His lips quiver, eyes blinking rapidly, but before the therapist could press on, his brother enters the room. Connie starts berating Peter, asking him how he'd like it if he made him cry. He tells Nick to get up and rip the therapist's notes up before leaving. The two head to the elevator, and once inside, Connie hugs his brother to soothe him, firmly telling him that he loves him. The two later arrive at a bank, wearing construction site uniforms and realistic prosthetic masks for their faces. Connie slips the bank teller a note demanding $65,000. The teller stiffly maintains her composure and complies, emptying her register of the money there. But Connie isn't satisfied, so he forces the teller to take more bills from the back. Successful, Nick and Connie head straight for an alley to take their disguises off. Connie happily praises Nick for being brave, and with that, they escape to the road. Upon their accomplice's arrival, they get inside the car to leave for good. Connie's happy little high dies down when he hears a strange beep, and before they knew it, red dye starts spraying from the bag. With the driver's vision obstructed, their car abruptly crashes into another parked vehicle. Nick and Connie are covered in red dye when they leave the car, making them stand out. Connie rushes to a pizza place, then locks themselves in the bathroom, despite the workers' protests. Nick starts washing his face with toilet water, making Connie snap at him to use the sink. Connie pleads for more time while the worker demands them to get out, else she'll call the cops. He says that his brother is mentally disabled and then a bucket of paint fell on them, which is only half true. The worker continues to knock repeatedly at the door, and as Nick frantically washes his face, Connie hides the bag of money in the ceiling. The two leave wearing a fresh change of clothes with hoodies pulled over their heads. While walking down the street, a cop car pulls over and the police inside want to talk to them. The officer tells Nick to turn and face them. This sends Nick into a panic, so he bolts away, prompting Connie to run after him, with the cops now chasing them down. They rush to a crowded mall while the cops stay on their tail. Connie's in the lead now, and he manages to leave through the mall's back exit. As for Nick, he crashes through the glass door, breaking it and falling unconscious. Nick gets taken to prison, and the rowdy noise from the inmates immediately greets him. A fight breaks out among them, and though Nick tries to keep to himself, they all collectively get sprayed. Nick later gets a visit from his therapist, who encourages him to cooperate with them. Nick, of course, refuses. Nick later gets a call from his grandmother through the community phone. He yells at her, saying that the money was for them, that Connie was going to buy him a farm so they can live together. He keeps forcefully insisting that Connie's the only one who loves him while holding the phone up, much to the annoyance of his fellow inmates. That night, Connie makes his way to a bail bonds place. He gives his red-tinged bills to the uncaring foreman. After counting the money, he tells Connie that he needs another 10 grand and that he can't use the other bills since they're ruined with dye. Without the funds, Connie has no chance of bailing Nick out. Back to Nick, he gets in trouble with his fellow inmates because of the TV. He forcibly changes the channel against the others' protest. After ignoring everyone, he gets slapped by one of the inmates. Nick is taken aback, and a beanie-wearing convict joins in to make a show out of messing with him. Provoked, Nick tackles him to the ground and starts pummeling him. This doesn't last long, as another inmate jumps Nick and punches his face to a bloody pulp until Nick falls unconscious. Later, Connie visits his girlfriend Corey in her condominium, much to her mother's dismay. He heads to her bedroom to be with her dogs while the mother and daughter argue outside. Eventually, Corey walks away from her mother and she cruises with Connie in a cab. There, Corey's trying to find a good vacation spot for the two of them, but Connie stops her so he can talk about Nick. He lies that Nick's therapist was abusing him, so he lashed out violently, making the therapist press charges against him. Connie then asks her to use her mother's credit card to help him with the rest of the bail. Corey's reluctant, but since she can't say no to Connie, she agrees. Back at the bail bonds place, Corey finds out that the bail is actually $10,000. She's shocked but takes her credit card out, regardless. Connie kisses her lightly while waiting for the foreman to make his call. To his surprise, the man tells him that Nick isn't on the calendar because he was sent to the hospital. Things only get chaotic from there, and while the foreman tries to make arrangements over the phone, Corey's credit card gets declined. She calls her mother, who canceled her card, making Corey yell in panic. Connie's back to where he started, and the man refuses to return the money Connie gave him. Defeated, Connie looks back at Corey as she cries about just wanting to do a good thing for somebody. Connie travels to Elmhurst where Nick is confined, and once he's there, he notices the many cops loitering around. After talking to a patient, Connie discovers that prisoners are kept on the 6th floor. He babbles with the cop there, using the opportunity to peek inside the room he's guarding. Finally, he spots a heavily bandaged patient inside and deduces that it's Nick. Satisfied, Connie slips inside the room of an elderly patient and waits there until the cop leaves his post. He takes the wheelchair and rushes inside Nick's room. Connie wastes no time moving Nick from his bed to the wheelchair, and when he gets unhooked from a machine, it starts beeping loudly. Stopping for nothing, Connie leaves quickly, pulling his brother's wheelchair until they've finally broken out of the hospital. A Haitian woman named Annie lets him get inside the access a ride first, and with that, they fully escaped Elmhurst's vicinity. The passengers start to leave one by one, and Connie notices that Annie has the last stop before him. The brothers get dropped off just 2 blocks away, and he makes his way to the woman's house to knock on her door. Connie makes up a story about losing keys and needing to use their phone. Annie graciously lets him in. She smokes while watching Connie pretend to call his mother, and after hanging up, he politely asks Annie if he can leave his brother there for a while. Annie starts getting suspicious of Connie, but she lets Nick stay in one of her rooms after a bit of back and forth. She shows Nick to the living room, then talks to her bored 16-year-old granddaughter, Crystal, to let her know that she'll be taking some sleeping pills for work tomorrow. While the two argue about Crystal always being on her phone, Nick heads inside the bathroom to search it until he finds a box of blonde hair dye. He stays with Nick in his room, and while waiting for his dye to settle, he bombards Corey with messages. Crystal enters the room to look for something, and when she asks about Connie's hair dye, he smiles stiffly and calls himself a weirdo. He lets her know that he took Annie's phone, and that's when Corey starts calling him. She tells him that her mom is practically holding her prisoner in her home, but Connie dismisses her, telling Corey to pick them up as soon as she can. With an impassionate "I love you," he ends the call and ushers Crystal outside where they can talk more freely. Later, the two are watching TV together, and when Crystal changes the channel to the news, she gushes about how much she loves dogs. Pensive, Connie makes an odd comment about being a dog in his previous life, which explains why they love him. Crystal only gives him a strange look. Suddenly, the news starts talking about Connie's robbery, so to keep Crystal from noticing, he quickly kisses her. While the two make out, the reporter talks about how their grandmother filed a restraining order against Connie for threatening and stalking her. She also blames him for an altercation with Nick, which resulted in her broken arm. During an interview, the grandmother claims that Connie treats his brother very badly, too. By that point, Connie has already taken Crystal to her room, and as they're starting to get frisky, Connie hears a voice coming from Nick's room. He rushes to the room, and the moment he saw him, Connie realized he messed up. It turns out that the man he busted out wasn't Nick, but a random guy. Confused, the man tries attacking Connie only to get tackled by him. When the guy, Ray, calms down, Connie gets off him and gets him up to speed. He warns him not to mess his plans up before barging out of the room. Connie goes to Crystal's room to tell her that they need to go to the hospital since he got the wrong guy. He urges Crystal to find the keys to their car, and when Crystal's at a loss, he tells her not to be confused as it'll just make things worse for him. Afterward, the three of them head to the car in the driveway. Connie drives back to the hospital, but they quickly realize that it's surrounded by cop cars and a media van. Instead, Connie pulls over at a convenience store, making Crystal leave her phone and buy some things. Once they're alone, Ray's manic monologue ensues. It turns out that Ray just got out of prison the other day and that he's on parole. After getting out, he and his friend Caleb head to Trevor's house. Trevor moves acid throughout New York, but he skims a couple to sell and puts them all in a Sprite bottle. Ray gets completely messed up on the thing, then winds up in an arcade to sell the acid with Trevor. Suddenly, a guy comes in after having robbed a bank. He brags about it. Ray's too messed up to follow the story, then the cops come in. Next thing Ray knows, he's making a run for it. He goes with Trevor to an amusement park called Adventureland to hide the Sprite bottle and the money. When the cops bust the place, Ray quickly leaves and hails a cab. He freaks the driver out when he said he just got back from prison, and the driver freaks him out when he started driving him to the precinct. In the end, Ray jumps out of the speeding cab and the rest is history. Finally, Ray's soliloquy comes to an end, but all Connie's doing is looking up directions for Adventureland. He firmly tells Ray that they're going to find the bottle then split what they get. With no plan or place to go, Ray agrees just before Crystal gets back in the car. After some driving, they eventually pull over. After telling Crystal to wait, Connie and Ray make their way inside the amusement park. It's pitch dark there, making their search difficult. Ray leads Connie to the Egyptian-themed section and there, he finally finds the acid. Indifferent, Connie dismisses this and demands to know where the money is. Before Ray could think, a Somali guard with a flashlight calls out to them, ordering them to come out. He's already called the cops, so it's just a matter of time before Ray and Connie get caught. The guard shines the light on Ray, so he immediately runs after him. He makes quick work of him and takes him to the security room where he ties Ray's wrist to a post. The guard lights the park up, and when he sees Connie through the security cameras, he chases him. Unfortunately, Connie manages to tackle him down, allowing him to beat the guard's face to a bloody pulp. With the guard taken care of, Connie heads to the security room to free Ray, and together, they haul the unconscious man back to the amusement park. They continue looking around for the money until Connie hears the cops calling from the outside. Cursing, Connie calls Ray to help him take the guard's uniform off to put it on. As a safety measure, Ray pours a good deal of the acid into the guard's mouth. Posing as the watchman, Connie meets the cops outside, then leads them to the unconscious man. The officers don't question Connie's identity and instead, they tell him to turn all the lights on. Meanwhile, Crystal notices that the amusement park is brought to life, so she steps outside the car to check. Just as she's approaching the gates, a cop spots her and makes her face him. Back in the amusement park, the security guard regains consciousness and he's completely out of it. He starts writhing, not even speaking English anymore. Chalking his behavior up to drug use, the cops put him on a stretcher. The man is frantically disoriented and confused while the cops are wheeling him to the van. Another cop is dragging Crystal with him while she protests about having explained herself already. Connie shows up, smoking casually as the officer asks him if Crystal is the other intruder. Connie denies ever seeing her. The moment Crystal sees him, the emotion drains from her face and the realization that she's been used sinks in. Crystal stops resisting and she lets the cop guide her to his car. Connie remains apathetic towards the casualties of his half-baked heist, and he heads to the security office to call the hospital. But since the staff isn't allowed to disclose information about Nick's situation, Connie angrily and repeatedly slams the phone down. With the coast clear, Connie and Ray leave the amusement park using the guard's car, and together, they make their way to the guard's high-rise apartment. Connie opens the door and immediately tames the dog there, who takes a quick liking to him. As soon as they settle, Connie aggressively asks Ray how much they can sell the acid for, then demands that he call his friend to buy it from him now. Though Ray isn't agreeable at first, he realizes that he wouldn't have made it without Connie, so he begrudgingly yields. A little later, Connie and Ray get into an argument over how useless Ray is to society, and that's when they finally hear the door ring. Connie takes the dog with him into one of the rooms while Ray gets the door to greet his good friend Khalif. Khalif is indignant over the entire situation and he walks straight to the room where Connie is. The moment he opens the door, the large dog starts barking at him. Unnerved, Khalif immediately shuts the door. Connie demands $15,000 for the drugs, and after a back and forth, Khalif pretends to go with what Connie says. He tells Connie that he'll retrieve the 15 grand from the bank while quietly gesturing to Ray that he's going to get a gun instead. When Khalif leaves, Connie is already packing his bags. He's been done ever since Khalif first said no to him. The ever-volatile man marches out into the hallway against Ray's wishes. Ray lunges at him, taking Connie down to the ground so he can try and steal the acid back. Though Connie's been consistently manipulating Crystal, he wasn't lying when he said dogs love him. His new canine friend comes to his rescue, biting Ray hard and letting Connie escape yet again. As soon as Ray gets up, he quickly goes back to the apartment room to call Khalif up. While telling him about what happened, the sirens start blaring and the cops have blocked Connie's escape. Ray watches from the window as Connie frantically tries to run away, but the chase ends uneventfully with the cops catching Connie in the parking lot. He drops the Sprite bottle, which rolls away unnoticed. Ray hastily informs Khalif of the bottle's whereabouts, then gets off the phone when the police knock at his door. With nowhere else to go, Ray desperately tries to leave through the window. At this point, Connie's lost the fight in him, and he looks more lost than anything with his incessant blinking as the cops take him in. Everyone's attention turns to the building as Ray tries to escape, but this ultimately results to him falling. Connie watches, his expression unchanging, before he's pushed inside the police car. With the fuse of the loose cannon that is Connie burning out, the man has little else to do but stare blankly ahead, completely unblinking. In the end, Nick is released from prison and he goes with Dr. Peter, who tells him that Connie is right where he belongs, just as Nick is right where he belongs. Peter takes Nick to a therapy class, and though Nick remains uncomfortable, pained, he slowly joins their group activity. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.